Everybody, video here for you. Another one today. We are going down to El-Lisht in Egypt, List or El-Lisht. For fairly new subs, I did a series on all the pyramids in Egypt, and here's the one at El-Lisht down here today. This is a pretty fascinating site. You notice there is stuff under the ground here, and it appears there are thousands of something right in front of the pyramid. We'll take a look at that in a second here. But of all the sites in Egypt, ancient harbors, and stuff right under the ground, this was a pretty cool site to investigate. It seems for as long as people have lived in what we call Egypt today, they have been burying people by sacred sites, and they certainly consider this a sacred site. Down here, this is one of two pyramids down here. But what are all these things down here? Let's just take a look. And here is what is in front of the pyramid down here, a pretty incredible sight coming from Egypt. In front of an ancient pyramid, thousands of stone sarcophagus or coffins here. Here is the northern pyramid at El-Lisht. This is the northern one. Right down here is the southern pyramid. And this has stuff right beneath the ground also, as you can clearly see. But an ancient harbor, I believe, was right in front of here. The northern pyramid is attributed to Amenemhet I, coming from the 12th dynasty. Here is a look at it today, covered with sand here, but these are kind of unique, and we'll talk about that. It says it was Maspero who, in 1882, was the first archaeologist to descend into the interior of Amenemhet I pyramid. Then, in 1894 and 1895, the French archaeologist expedition under the direction of Gautier and Jacquier continued to investigate this pyramid. It was further explored by a team from the Metropolitan Museum of New York from 1902 to 1934. It says, unfortunately, a local Muslim cemetery is located atop Amenemhet's Valley Temple. This component of the complex has not been seriously investigated, both because of the cemetery and the fact that its remains are below the level of groundwater in the area. Here is a diagram of the pyramid, and this is perfectly aligned to north. There's a causeway coming off the east side of it. There are shaft tombs of women, and there are a few of them identified here. Here it says the entrance corridor on the north side, but I think we have to think about this term entrance corridor because in the Book of the Dead, the north side is significant because that is the side the sun shifts out of the underworld and rises up to be born again on the north side. So maybe this is an exit corridor instead of an entrance corridor based on the text of the ancient Egyptians. Well, one thing that made the construction of these fairly unique, they were made roughly, they say 1900 BC, maybe 500-600 years after the Great Pyramids, and they weren't doing them to the stature of the pyramids at Giza. Is that the way the civilization developed? Building the pyramids at Giza, and then 500 years or so later, this is all you can muster down here at El-Lisht. And one thing they did here is they brought in stones and decorated stones from monuments built in earlier stages of Egyptian history, and even the monuments of Khufu and Khafre. Why did they cannibalize those? Now, compared to other mud brick pyramids, this didn't appear to have a lot of mud brick in it, but it says, regrettably, this generation of pyramids utilized mud bricks in their construction, which is always a problem from the standpoint of preservation. Today, the pyramid stands in ruins about 20 meters above the Lisht ground level, though at one time its size was reasonably close to those built in the Old Kingdom. Do they mean the pyramids of Giza and the Red Pyramid and that? I don't think they were anything close to that level. But it says the core of the pyramid was made of rough blocks of local limestone with a loose fill of sand, debris, and mud brick. And that kind of sounds like some of those unfinished pyramids. It says, remarkably, and for spiritual reasons, the pyramid includes relief decorated blocks from a number of Old Kingdom monuments. They include granite blocks from the pyramid complexes, particularly the causeways and valley temples of Khufu, Khafre, Unis, and Pepi. Here it says a block with the cartouche of Khufu in Amenemhet I pyramid. And that's pretty far away. If this came from Giza, why were they taking it all the way from Giza down here? Here is the cartouche Khufu with the two bird symbols in it. And it's my personal belief that Khufu just attached his legacy to these sacred structures that have been here for a long, long time. There has always been a necropolis here. Why? Sacred structures were here. An old dynasty king did not put his pyramid right in the middle of an ancient, very ancient necropolis, probably the most sacred place in Egypt. And maybe future kings of Egypt took Khufu's legacy, tried to remove it from Giza because they were not happy with this king of Egypt trying to attach his legacy to the most sacred site in Egypt. See where I'm getting at? But just concluding here, Amenemhet's pyramid, it says the pyramid's true entrance is found on its north side. And as I said, maybe that is the intended exit of the soul. From here, a hallway lined with pink granite leads to a small room at the core of the pyramid, from where a shaft connects to the burial chamber. It says, no full statues of Amenemhet I were unearthed during archaeological expeditions. However, a limestone statuette's head, thought to belong to an image of the pharaoh, has been discovered, and there has things been found here that just relate to the time of Amenemhet I, and that's kind of how he is attached to this, plus certain things found at the site. Right down in this area, there was a strange rock cemetery found, and the way this rock is cut, that's pretty mysterious. Seems like to be all one piece. I'm not sure what I'm even looking at here. Now, they attribute this pyramid down here to Senroset I, and there's a lot of Senrosets. I know a lot of these names of these kings and pharaohs get confusing, but here is this pyramid perfectly aligned to north. Many things right underneath the sand here. You can just tell. Little tombs and outer walls, causeways. I think right here is an ancient harbor. Here's the pyramid of Senroset at El-Lisht, and I just thought I would do this video. It's been 2.5 years since I talked about the site, and I'm sure some of you are unfamiliar with it. Here's what it looks like right in front of the pyramid, and that just looks like the causeway went right down to the ancient Nile, just like the causeway did near the Sphinx up at Giza. Here you see two different types of stonework. And is this just a case of a culture coming along later in history and building on top of older ruins? Well, certainly have to take that into consideration here. It says, conclusions: through excavating the site, archaeologists were able to learn a few things, even if the remains were not in pristine condition. El-Lisht is notable for its commissioners' cannibalization of earlier monuments, which is thought to symbolize the restoration of Egypt to its old kingdom glory. The change of relief carving styles in the 12th dynasty is also apparent in the two pyramids at the site. That is my video from El-Lisht. Sometimes it's hard to figure out history when people were building on top of older ruins. And just the Egyptian history is 3,000 years, so a lot of stuff to figure out in Egypt, but that is a pretty interesting site. Kings of the 12th and 13th dynasty put in pyramids there. They cannibalized monuments from the old kingdom rulers. Why did they do that? Who knows? Hope you thought that was cool, and you all have a very safe day.